The district is now giving us the go-ahead to update to iOS 12 on our iPads. So to do that, you're going to go to your settings, and then you're going to choose General in your settings, and then over to Software Update. When you go to Software Update, if an update is needed, you'll see this downloaded and install. Now, it may be if your iPad is not charged enough, I believe it's at least 50%, it won't run the install. So you want to make sure that you are either plugged in or that you are charged more than 50% for this to happen. Now let me talk a little bit about what these updates are going to be like on your iPad. First of all, I'm going to sound like a little Apple commercial here, but Apple is claiming the device will be faster and more responsive. The keyboard will display 50% faster. Apps will launch 40% faster. And the swipe to keyboard from the locked screen. So for example, if I'm on my locked screen like this and I swipe over to the side, that accessing my camera will be 70% faster. A couple other things that will be important for you to know that are some kind of major changes in here. First of all, to access your home screen, you're going to swipe up from the bottom to access the home screen. And also, if you need to go to the command center, which before we swiped up from the bottom, you're going to go to the upper right-hand corner, and you're going to go up in the upper right area and swipe down to get that command center. So that's going to be a kind of change that we need to get used to, especially if students are going to be doing things like airplaying or something like that. Another change you'll notice in the settings is something called screen time. And when you select screen time, it's going to tell you how much you've been using your iPad and what kinds of things you've been using it for. And if you actually select your name on there, it gives you time for the last day or the last several days. And what's kind of interesting is it lets you see what apps you've been using as well. It's just kind of a helpful thing to know a little bit more about how you are using your device. Another great feature of iOS 12 is a change in the keyboard. Now, if you hold down on your space bar down on the bottom and you hold and press, it actually makes your keyboard into more of a trackpad. So sometimes we're trying to get to a specific spot in our text so that we can make a correction, and it's difficult to tap in that exact spot. Well, now again, we can press and hold and move around like a trackpad to get to that spot a little easier. I'm sure that will be a time saver for a lot of us. Another thing you'll notice in the screenshots or notes or those kinds of things is the markup tools have changed a little bit. So I'm going to do a quick screenshot here and then open up so you can see the markup tools. Now they look fairly similar on the bottom. One thing you're going to notice way down here on the right hand side is that the variance of colors that you have, they've added a wide spectrum of colors that you can change for your tools that you have. In addition, if you go to the tools and you press down on those, you're going to see a variety of widths that weren't there before, more of a variety. Also, the opacity is going to change. So if you don't want something at 100%, you can adjust this little slider, and so it's going to be lighter on your screen. So I did an example there of the pen with 3 different opacity levels so you could see that there's a lighter, a medium, or a heavy version depending upon what you're trying to do. You're also going to notice after the upgrade that a few different apps appear on your screen. Now, a couple of those you may want to know a little bit more about, but one of them is Stocks, and I'm going to recommend that you just get rid of that one. I don't see a need for us to have that one. So if you simply hold down on the app until the X appears, and then you can touch that and get rid of that particular app off of your screen. The other two are Voice Memos and Measure. Voice Memo is basically just what it says. It allows you to record your voice. And so when you start it, obviously it's going to ask you if you have permission to use the microphone, so you give permission to that. So I see that as something that in the future we may see some more uses for on that. Again, I just swiped up from the bottom to get back to my home screen. Another one is the Measure app. So some possible uses for this. First of all, once you get it going, if you have an object that's pretty uniform in color, what it'll actually do, if you see this box around here, I'm going to then push the plus sign, and it's going to give me the measurements of this. So it's actually my remote on the floor there. So it's going to tell me that my remote is 1.5 by 7. If I clear that off of there, I can just hit the clear button in the upper right hand corner and that will disappear. In other cases, if I have something that's multicolored, it struggles to know exactly where the outer edges are. And so you might have to move it around a little bit, or you might actually have to go in and put points in. So for example, you see this white dot that I have, and if I put that on the corner and push the plus sign, and then I can go across to the other corner, and again, push the dot, and so it tells me that that's 5 inches. And in some cases I can keep going and connect. This would be great if you're doing something like, for example, maybe you need to measure how long something is for what you're doing, maybe measuring a shelf. So anxious to see how people come up with ways to use the measure tool in the classroom. Another little change you may find helpful is under settings. And so if you go to settings and then scroll down along the left-hand side and choose Safari, and then on the right-hand side, if you scroll a little bit, and in the right-hand side, if you find Show Icons in Tabs, and you just slide that over, so tap it so it turns itself on. Then when you go to Safari, what it does is actually put little icons up by the tabs, so that helps you identify what kinds of sites you are in a little bit more quickly. Hopefully these are some things you can use, and please update your iPads to iOS 12.